Hey everyone, today I'm going to take you through exactly why every entrepreneur should be armed with Google Maps. Now don't worry, I'm not here to market or sell Google Maps to you. God knows Google does not need the help when it comes to their marketing and selling. But what I am here to do is to take you through exactly why this is one of the most powerful analogies every entrepreneur should embrace and lean into. So let's start by breaking it down with a really simple example. Let's say I am in Bangalore and I am thinking of traveling to Goa for a holiday. Now, the first thing I do is I think about a broad direction I want to go in, i.e., hey, I want to go to Goa for a holiday. And then I actually put in a destination. So I actually put in where exactly do I want to go. And in this case, it's Goa, but I put in a little bit more detail, like let's say I'm being extravagant for a bit. I want to go to the Taj in South Goa. Okay, that is the destination I have for my trip. Now, very similarly, as an entrepreneur as well, it is critical to have a broad direction you want to go in over the long term, and also specific destinations or goals that you want to achieve in a business sense over a certain period of time. So in my entrepreneurial journey, based on where I am right now with Jigsaw Thinking, the way that would break down is that the broad direction we want to go in is we want to fuel the self-starter economy in India. And the way we want to do that is by democratizing world-class business coaching. We don't want business coaching to be just for the few, the people who've already sort of made it or can already afford it. We want to focus on the people who need the guidance at the initial stages of their journey if it's in the non-tech space. So I would put down my broad direction as fuel the self-starter economy, right? Now, the next thing I need to do, like I said in the normal example of using Google Maps, is you can't just say, I want to go to Goa, because it will take you there, but it might not take you exactly where you want to go. So what you would put in is an actual destination. And in my case, Jigsaw's goal is to fuel the self-starter journeys of 10,000 self-starters by March 31st, 2025. And that's my specific destination that I want to be going to. Now, you can decide as an entrepreneur based on where you are with your journey, whether to make that specific destination 3 years, 5 years, but I always recommend eventually bringing it down to, okay, over the next 12 months or the next 15 months, what is the specific goal I want to achieve? So in my case, we want to fuel the self-starter journeys of 1,000 people by 31st of March, 2023. Okay, so that way I have got a broad direction I want to go in. I have a mission that is going to guide me and be my compass and my true north, no matter where I go in my entrepreneurial journey, which is fueling the self-starter economy. I then have a destination in terms of either a 3-year or a 1-year goal. In my case, I've got both at the moment, which is to fuel the self-starter journeys of 10,000 people in the next 3 years and 1,000 entrepreneurs over the next year. That is the first thing you would do on Google Maps, and entrepreneurs should do it as well. Goal setting is vitally important because if you don't have specific goals, then you never know whether you're heading in the right direction. So goal setting is number one to make sure you always know whether you're heading in the right direction or you aren't. The next thing you do on Google Maps is you figure out what mode of transportation you are going to be taking. Right, so over here on Google Maps, you have the options of should I use a car or bus or motorbike, should I trek there, etc. Now, I'm not ambitious enough to want to trek to Goa, so maybe I put in I want to do a long road trip and I want to take the car. Okay, that's what I actually want to do. I want to take the car, have a nice time with my friends in the journey there. Now, just like that, for a founder, it's extremely important that you don't just have a broad direction and goals you want to head towards. You also have your mode of transportation, which is you as a founder. What are your goals when it comes to the journey you have towards the ultimate goal you're looking to achieve? What are some constraints you want to put on yourself? So, for example, in my case again, my constraint or my mode of transportation is that I want to make sure that I set up the business in such a way that I can work from anywhere in the world and still help people with their self-starter journeys. Because one of my personal goals is to make sure that I travel a lot with my beautiful wife. I want to make sure that I have varied experiences, live in different countries. Now, that is my personal goal. It, of course, doesn't have to be yours. But I think as a founder, it's important to be very clear about the mode of transportation you want to take towards your goals. And the simple way to think about that is, what are certain personal goals I do not want to compromise on to actually achieve the business goals? Quite often, founders either depend on this way too much, where they say, all of these are my personal goals and the business is just a journey towards that. Or they go the other extreme, more often than not, where they think about business goals, but they don't think about their goals as a founder. Now, it's not selfish or arrogant to think about your own personal goals. It just means that you're taking care of yourself and you're making sure you've got the fuel to keep going towards the goals that you have. So my personal goal over here, like I said, is work from anywhere. And one of the goals I'm adding to that over a period of time, I've realized, is that I would love to be in a position, we're not there yet, but I'd love to be in a position where it's not just me who can work from anywhere, but the entire team at Jigsaw can work from anywhere and still help deliver quality, world-class business coaching with a twist to self-starters. Now, the third thing you need to do with Google Maps is you actually put in route options that you have, right? So over here, with your route options, you go and click on those or tap on those three dots, and you actually say things like, I want to avoid tolls, I want to avoid highways, etc., right? You put conditions to the trip that you actually want to make. And so in the world of entrepreneurship, or rather, let's put in the example for my wonderful trip to Goa. Let's say one of the things I want to do is I want to avoid highways, okay? Which very clearly tells me that I am willing to take the scenic route, the longer route towards getting to Goa. So maybe my purpose is to have a beautiful time on the road trip, not necessarily just thinking about how can I get quickest to the destination. For entrepreneurs, that might not always be the case. So in the entrepreneurial world, when you're thinking about route options that Google gives you, in the entrepreneurial world, that is figuring out what are the different types of business models that will get me towards the goal I want to head towards, keeping in mind the constraints or the goals I have for myself along that journey as well. So when you're thinking about multiple routes, it's best to think about different business models. In Jigsaw's universe, we could have decided that the multiple options that were on the table for us were either I will continue to do one-on-one coaching with every single client that comes our way. That could be one. The second could be that we only run in-person, community-based events, workshops, hackathons, etc., to help people with their journey. Another model was that we do a train-the-trainer model where I get a lot of people who are excited to be coaches under me. I guide them on how to become better coaches. I arm them with Jigsaw content so that they can go out and help other people as well as part of Jigsaw or as an associate of Jigsaw. But the problem with all of these is that sometimes as an entrepreneur, you have so many options that you start playing around with all of them all at the same time and wonder why one of them isn't succeeding. Well, the fact is that if you have multiple route options like you do on Google, but you don't choose one, then it's going to be very hard to actually focus on that and get the job done. So with route options in the business world and entrepreneurial world, as I told you, essentially what we're looking at is different types of business models. Okay? And this is really important. Business models are essentially a way to visualize your entire business and all the parts of the business and how they interact with each other on one screen or one scroll or one sheet of paper so that you can visualize everything at the same time. Just to give you a sneak peek into that, for Jigsaw, like I told you, we had different options. So one option was, hey, we're going to train the trainer. Another option was, I will just do one-on-one, so it'll just be on me. Another option was, let's do a whole bunch of in-person events. And another one was, okay, let's leverage technology, right? And make technology our friend to make this mission a possibility. Now, once you've obviously got these route options on Google Maps, the first thing that you actually do is you choose a route. You actually figure out, based on what Google Maps has shown you, hey, this one takes 8 hours, this takes 6 hours, this one has traffic jams along the way, this is longer but maybe has better roads. You actually choose a route. So let's say when I'm going to Goa, I choose that I am going to go the, as I said, long, scenic route with good roads. Okay, that's the sort of choice I've made. Now, in the entrepreneurial world, like we did for Jigsaw, we looked at all of the different routes. We figured out how we could really make those routes work for us. And eventually we chose one route, because if you choose multiple or you try and pursue multiple over a prolonged period of time, all of them are likely to fail in different ways because you're not giving one your full attention, focus, and love. Right? So we chose a route, and our route that we chose was we are essentially going to have world-class content housed on a really, really user-friendly platform. We're going to drive a lot of community-based experimentation so that people can give feedback to each other, peers can interact with each other an awful lot. And we're going to make sure that there's an element of cohort so that if people go together towards this journey, they're more likely to actually finish their journey as well. So that's the route we chose in our case. But the only way to choose a route was to really deep dive into the business model, see what the different approaches are, do a small experiment here and there, and then be really clear about the choices that we make. Now we're almost towards the end of what we would do as part of Google Maps. Right, the next thing we would do is we would basically hit the blue and white start button. We would tap it, and then Google Maps would zoom in to ground level and say, okay, cool, this is where you need to start. You need to first take a left, first take a right, first go straight for 3 kilometers. Whatever it is, Google Maps would say, this is the first thing you need to focus on. Right, so in the Google Maps world, it's left, right, straight. In the entrepreneurial world, it is actually figuring out, okay, I've got my broad direction. I've got my specific business goals. I've also got the business model I want to pursue. Now I actually have to start my journey and figure out what I need to do first. And this is vital for entrepreneurs. Because as entrepreneurs, our temptation is that we need to be involved in every aspect of the business. We need to be fighting fires all of the time. We need to solve 100 problems all of the time. We need to figure out our targeting, our pricing, our customer journeys, our operations, our team, everything all at once, and then everything magically will be okay. But the fact is, focus wins. And as an entrepreneur, however hard it is, we need to focus on the stuff that matters and the stuff that is most likely to take us on our chosen route towards our chosen goals. And so for that, as an entrepreneur, we have to find out what we should focus on as a business. Should we first be focusing on our marketing and sales? Should we be focusing on how our customer journey and delivery system is going to be? Should we focus in on how we're going to build our team? What should we actually focus on to make sure that we make the first few steps more likely to set us up for success? Now, I know, again, it's really tempting to say, hey, I've got to figure out sales and customer and team, etc. And that is fine as long as you're doing them with adequate focus. So you need to figure out, how am I going to focus on one thing at a time? So the way I recommend it for people who are doing multiple things and saying that they have to focus on multiple things, and it's actually the truth, well then spend a month figuring out marketing and sales while the other stuff is ongoing exactly the way it is. Once that's figured out, spend the next month figuring out your customer journey and your delivery mechanism. And marketing and sales is actually happening during that time. And finally, figure out what you're going to do with the team, right? While the other two are now operational. So whichever order or sequence makes sense for you, and we can have a conversation about which one makes the most sense for you, you need to figure it out, and then you've got to stick to it unless something drastic happens or something drastic changes, because focus is vital for an entrepreneur. What happens next on Google Maps? Well, really simply, you now are on your journey, and so you get a bunch of live alerts. You get alerts for, hey, watch out, you're enjoying the drive a lot, but you need to take a left coming up in 500 meters. You get alerts for, you know what, there's a huge traffic jam ahead, but don't worry, you're still on the fastest route possible. Stick with it, keep going. Or you get an option saying, hey, we found a faster route. Don't you want to sort of reroute and take that? You can also put in, hey, I'm searching for a pit stop along the way. I want to go to a restaurant, or I need to fill petrol on my drive. Right? So you get a whole bunch of live alerts. You get faster routes. You get traffic jams. And you might get pit stops as well. Right? Now, in the entrepreneurial world, it's exactly the same. Once you've started out on your journey, sometimes distractions can come your way, but Google will help you figure out whether you actually should take on that distraction, or whether once you've taken on that distraction, let's say you've given in, how you can reroute and get back on track. And getting back on track is only possible because you've done the hard work to set your broad direction, your destination in terms of your goals. You've figured out your strategies. You've figured out the constraints you want to put on yourself in terms of moving towards those goals. You've done all the hard work. Then you need to set up real-time prompts to actually make sure you get these alerts, whether those are time-based, event-based. So quite a few people, what they do is they actually just put in calendar sort of reminders, and that's what I do as a founder as well. I put in calendar reminders every few months to make sure that I am on track and I'm keeping an eye on this. I also put event-based reminders, which means that if I get an opportunity where I'm not sure whether it's part of my overall strategy or not, I actually put in a really simple process to say, okay, this is when I'm going to speak to my coach, get input, be really clear whether this is a shiny distraction or it's a faster way to get to my overall destination, right? So you need to put processes in place to actually think through these decisions as well. And that's essentially how you can Google Map your business. So to really simplify, what you're essentially doing is you are figuring out your overall strategy. And I can actually help you do this as part of the strategy bootcamp. In the strategy bootcamp, what we do is you are actually guided through by yours truly on exactly how to build your big fabulous goals, the broad direction you want to go into. You are actually helped with figuring out your specific business goals. What business goals do you actually want to achieve over the next 12, 18 months? We actually help you with setting up founder goals as well, because we know that you should be focusing on yourself. After all, you're the most valuable asset to the business. So we help you with that entire piece. Then what we help you do is we actually help you ideate different business models, see whether your current one is the best one, whether there are hidden business models within yours, whether tiny tweaks can really elevate your business to the next level. We also help you build out strategic trees. Strategic trees will actually help you figure out which route you want to actually take on and which route you want to go with. How do you make a choice between different business models? And we actually go one step further by actually helping you do a projections exercise where you map out all the numbers over the next 12 to 18 months with our preloaded dashboards, which already have formulae in them, where you can actually see how this journey will break down over the next few months, whether things go badly, things go better than expected, or things are just like you expected them as well. And finally, and this is possibly the most important part of it once you've done the first two, is we help you focus. We help you figure out which aspect of the business you need to focus on. And then we help you get those live alerts by helping you figure out which parts you need to focus on in your evolution as a founder. Whether it's your commitment, your accountability, your skill set, your mindset, whatever it is, we actually help you figure that piece out as well. Now, once I've guided you through this entire journey, you'll actually have an entire strategy workbook personalized and ready for you, where all your goals are documented, your strategies are documented, the working towards them is documented, so that you can make changes to them at any point in time. Repeat this exercise every few months. I recommend doing it every 3 months, but if not 3 months, at least every 6 months. Don't keep this as a once in a year activity. And finally, what we also do is once you've built this entire piece out, you get a one-on-one conversation with me where I literally just do no holds barred business coaching, because I would have reviewed all of your goals, your strategies, your questions that you have, and then we do a 45 to 60-minute one-on-one conversation where we discuss, validate, challenge your goals, your strategies, your focus areas, so that you have 100% direction, clarity, and focus that is most likely to get you towards your goals as an entrepreneur. I hope this whiteboard session was valuable to you. You found it insightful. I hope you paused at different points in time to actually perhaps do a little bit of the activity as well. If you didn't, maybe take some time to do it. And if you don't want to do it yourself and you want an expert such as myself to guide you, then please check out the Strategy Bootcamp, get in touch with the team, and we'll actually figure out whether we're a good fit, and if we're a good fit, how we can help you as part of the Strategy Bootcamp. Take care and all the best.